The map within. Take a moment. Close your eyes and imagine this. Deep within you is a map, unique and mysterious. A map no one else can see. This isn't a map of roads or cities, but of memories, emotions, dreams, and, perhaps most powerfully, wounds. The truth is, every one of us carries a secret map within our soul. And for most of us, the first lines on that map were drawn long ago in the quiet corridors of childhood. Think back for a second. Was your childhood peaceful and safe? Or were there moments of confusion, pain, or loneliness that lingered long after? Many of us would like to believe our past is something we can leave behind. But what if, as poet Rainer Maria Rilke once wrote, the only journey is the one within someone. What if those painful memories, the times you felt left out on the playground, the words that stung, the nights you felt invisible, aren't just scars to be forgotten but signposts? What if they are, in fact, guiding you, teaching you about who you truly are, and what you deeply long for? You see, your childhood wounds aren't just random bruises on your history. They are secret milestones on the map of your being. Neuroscientist Dr. Bruce Perry reminds us, the more healthy relationships a child has, the more likely he will be to recover from trauma and thrive. But what about the relationships that were absent? The love that felt out of reach? The safety that was missing? These too draw landmarks on our inner map. So let me ask you directly. Have you ever wondered if the pain you felt as a child was actually preparing you for something vital as an adult? How might your greatest struggles be quietly pointing you toward your purpose, your passion, or your unique form of compassion? I invite you to consider this. Every heartbreak, every disappointment, every feeling of not enough is not just an accident. These moments are like the secret symbols explorers leave on a map, clues leading you through the forest of your adult life. Carl Jung famously said, "I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become." But how do we choose if we don't know the terrain of our own story? Let's be honest. Most of us spend years, even decades, trying to avoid, cover up, or run from those early hurts. We wear smiles, chase achievements, or keep ourselves busy, hoping that if we don't look at the wounds, they'll stop shaping us. But in reality, those hidden hurts are quietly steering our choices, our relationships, even our dreams. It takes real courage to look back, to admit, yes, there were times I felt lost, afraid, or unloved. But here's the paradox. When you dare to turn around and see those wounds for what they are, you start to realize your pain is not a dead end. It is a doorway. It is the beginning of a journey home to yourself. Just as every great hero's journey starts with a challenge or loss, your story, too, holds moments that shaped your character. Maybe your greatest compassion was born from feeling unseen. Maybe your need to achieve comes from a time you felt unworthy. Maybe your kindness to others is a response to the loneliness you once felt. The author Henri Nouwen wrote, "Nobody escapes being wounded." We are all wounded people, whether physically, emotionally, mentally, or spiritually. But he continues, the main question is not, how can we hide our wounds so we don't have to be embarrassed, but how can we put our woundedness in service to others? So, as you listen to this, I invite you to reflect. What are the secret markers on your map? What childhood memories still tug at your heart? Don't run from them. Instead, honor them. Write them down. Name them. Hold them gently. And here's a challenge. Take just one childhood memory, especially one that hurt. Sit quietly for 5 minutes and ask yourself, what did this experience try to teach me about who I am? You might be surprised at the strength, empathy, or wisdom waiting for you there. Because in the end, your map is not just about the wounds, it's about the way you have traveled, survived, and are still moving forward. Your story matters. Your journey is not finished. And perhaps the parts you've tried to hide are actually the keys to your greatest healing. Let your map guide you home. Share in the comments. What is one childhood lesson or memory that still shapes you today? You are not alone. Your story can help someone else find their way too. Early wounds. The first landmarks on the map. Let's pause and step back into the past. Back to a time when life was simpler, but our hearts were perhaps most vulnerable. Childhood. For many, it was a time of laughter, games, and discovery. But for almost everyone, there were also moments, maybe just small ones, but they mattered, where something was wounded. Sometimes it's the moment you were left out on the playground, when a group of friends ran ahead and you felt invisible. Sometimes it's a careless word from an adult. Why can't you be more like your brother? That seemed to echo forever. Sometimes it's simply the silence, the love or attention you hoped for, but never received. Let me share a story. One that might sound familiar, even if the details are different. Imagine a little boy, eager to share his drawing with his parents after school. He walks up, pride in his eyes, only to be met with distracted glances or a simple, "Not now, I'm busy." That moment, barely noticed by anyone else, can become a landmark on his inner map. A place marked, "I am not important enough." This is not about blaming our parents or caregivers. Most did their best with what they knew. But the reality is, our first emotional wounds rarely come from grand dramatic events. More often, they are the quiet moments when our need for acceptance, belonging, or recognition went unanswered. Psychologist Dr. Gabor Mate writes, "The wounds of childhood are not often caused by what was done, but by what was not done. Sometimes it's the affection that was missing, the encouragement that never came, the listening ear that was absent. These are the moments where seeds of self-doubt and limiting beliefs begin to grow. Do you remember a time as a child when you felt not good enough? Perhaps it was the first time you got a bad grade and believed you were not smart. Or when you weren't picked for the team and felt not athletic. Or maybe, for reasons you couldn't explain, you just felt different. Neuroscience now tells us that these early experiences don't simply disappear. They wire themselves into the brain, shaping how we see ourselves for years to come. For some of us, these wounds become the source of a lifelong drive. An urge to prove ourselves, to be perfect, to always be enough. For others, they turn into quiet voices of self-doubt, holding us back from taking risks or forming deep connections. As Brené Brown says, owning our story can be hard but not nearly as difficult as spending our lives running from it. But here's the hopeful truth. Our earliest wounds are not just sources of pain. They are also the first clues on our personal map. They show us where healing is needed and where our greatest strengths may eventually grow. Many people who become the most compassionate, creative, or resilient adults trace their gifts back to the very moments they once felt small or unseen. I want to invite you now. Take a breath. Close your eyes for a few seconds and gently ask yourself, what's the earliest memory you have of feeling not good enough? You don't have to judge it or analyze it. Just notice. Write it down if you feel ready, or draw it as a symbol or a color. Sometimes naming the wound is the first step toward healing it. Dr. Carl Jung reminds us, "I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become." Your childhood wounds may have written the first lines on your map, but you hold the pen now. Each time you remember, accept, and bring kindness to these early landmarks, you reclaim another piece of yourself. And if this story or question stirs something in you, you are not alone. In the comments, I invite you to share. What is one childhood moment that shaped you, for better or worse? Or just write, I remember. By speaking these memories, we begin to rewrite our map together. Remember, the journey isn't about erasing the wounds. It's about discovering the strength, wisdom, and empathy that grows from them. Let's walk this path with courage and compassion for ourselves and for each other. Every wound is a signal for the future. Let's pause for a moment and reflect. Have you ever noticed certain patterns keep repeating in your life? Maybe you find yourself hesitating to speak up in meetings, avoiding close relationships, or feeling that deep fear of being abandoned, even when there's no real reason. It can almost feel like life is playing a secret, invisible melody on repeat. But what if these patterns are not accidents? What if they are signals, messages from our past, gently urging us to notice what still needs healing? Psychology teaches us something profound. Unhealed childhood wounds have a way of echoing into our adult lives. Dr. Peter Levine, a pioneer in trauma research, writes, "Trauma is a fact of life. It does not, however, have to be a life sentence. Yet, unless we pause and pay attention, the echoes of old hurts can guide our choices, shape our relationships, and even limit our happiness, often without us realizing it." Think about it. How many times have you pulled back from an opportunity, not because you weren't capable, but because a small voice inside whispered, "Don't risk it. You'll only get hurt." Or maybe you've struggled to trust people, always expecting the worst, or found yourself repeating the same arguments in every relationship. These aren't just quirks of personality. They are often the signals left by unhealed wounds. As Dr. Gabor Mate says, the attempt to escape from pain is what creates more pain. When we avoid facing our wounds, we unintentionally allow them to steer our life from behind the scenes. Let me ask you, gently, are there moments in your life when you felt timid, insecure, or terrified of being left behind? Have you ever wondered where those feelings really come from? Often, if we look closely, we find their roots in childhood. Maybe a time when you were left waiting at school, or when your feelings weren't validated at home, or when you learned to hide a part of yourself just to fit in. It's as if each wound left a marker on the map of your life. And now, even as an adult, you're unconsciously steering around those same places. Picture your inner world as a vast, old map. There are bright, open spaces where you feel safe and confident. But then, there are shadowy regions, territories you rarely visit, filled with memories or emotions you'd rather avoid. But what if, like in all great stories, the greatest treasures are hidden in those shadowy places? Carl Jung wrote, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." Those dark places on your map aren't dead ends, they're potential. Within every unhealed wound lies the possibility for growth, empathy, and new beginnings. You are not destined to repeat the same mistakes forever. The first step is awareness. Just noticing, without judgment, the patterns that keep showing up. Write them down. Name them. Maybe say to yourself, this fear, this sadness, this hesitation, it's not a flaw. It's a signal. It's guiding me towards something that wants to be seen and healed. Let me share a practical invitation. Tonight, before you go to bed, take a few quiet minutes to ask yourself, what old wound might be trying to get my attention through the patterns in my life? If you feel comfortable, share your insight in the comments below, or simply write it down for yourself. Remember, healing isn't about erasing the past. It's about recognizing the signals, learning their language, and bravely exploring the treasure that lies within the darkness. As Maya Angelou beautifully said, you may not control all the events that happen to you, but you can decide not to be reduced by them. Let's start treating our wounds not as curses, but as secret maps, pointing us to the places where our truest strength can grow. Your map is unique. Your signals are important. And by listening, you take the first step toward a new, brighter chapter. If this message resonates, share a pattern you're ready to rewrite. Together, let's honor our wounds and let them guide us home. The courage to explore the dark corners, the real journey of growing up. Let's get real for a moment. Most of us spend years, sometimes a whole lifetime, trying to avoid the painful memories tucked away in the corners of our minds. It's almost as if we've built invisible walls around our childhood hurts, hoping if we don't look, they won't hurt us anymore. But here's a secret that so many of us discover only after years of running. True maturity doesn't come from avoidance. It comes from the courage to shine a light into those dark corners, to gently explore the places we once thought were too painful to visit. Think of your inner world as an old house, full of locked rooms and forgotten attics. Some doors you keep wide open. These are your joyful memories, your triumphs, your easy laughter. But others, well, those doors stay shut. Behind them are the echoes of loss, the sting of rejection, or moments when you felt invisible or not enough. It's normal to want to avoid these rooms, but as Carl Jung wisely said, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. In other words, the real journey isn't about pretending everything's bright. It's about bravely bringing awareness to the places we've hidden away. Let me share a story. A friend once told me how, for years, she avoided thinking about her parents' divorce when she was 7. She'd always change the subject, laugh it off, or keep herself busy. But the anxiety would sneak back at the strangest times, when she was left out of a group, or when someone she loved disappointed her. It wasn't until she finally sat down one day and allowed herself to draw her childhood map, literally sketching out the moments and places that had made her feel sad, scared, or alone, that she realized how much of her adult life was shaped by those childhood shadows. Only when I looked back, she told me, did I realize I wasn't broken. I was just carrying stories that needed to be heard. So here's a gentle but powerful challenge for you. Tonight, or whenever you have a quiet moment, take out a piece of paper. Draw your own childhood map. You don't have to be an artist. Just mark the moments or places that still ache a little. The time you felt left out, the room where you heard harsh words, the playground where you felt afraid, the house that felt empty. No one else ever needs to see this. The purpose isn't to judge or relive the pain, but to honor your own story. As poet Mary Oliver wrote, "Tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? Maybe, just maybe, part of that plan is giving yourself permission to return to the places you've tried so hard to forget." Here's the truth. Only when we look back with compassion do we begin to understand our deepest needs, our hidden desires, and our true fears. These aren't weaknesses. They're signposts. They tell us what we long for, what we're afraid to lose, what matters most to our hearts. The act of mapping your childhood isn't about getting lost in the past. It's about lighting the way forward. It's about taking back the power that your hidden pain once held over you. Dr. Bessel van der Kolk, author of The Body Keeps the Score, reminds us that trauma is not just an event that took place in the past. It is also the imprint left by that experience on mind, brain, and body. By bringing those experiences into the light, by gently marking them on your map, you begin the real journey of healing. So I ask you, what are the rooms in your memory you've left unvisited? What stories are still waiting to be heard? Share in the comments if you feel ready, or simply write them down for yourself as a quiet act of courage. Because growing up isn't about running from your shadows. It's about meeting them with kindness and letting your own light, one only you can shine, illuminate the way. Your courage to look back is your first step toward freedom. Let's walk this journey together. Wounds are not destiny. They are guides. Home. Let's pause and remember. No one arrives in this life perfectly whole. Every single one of us is born into a story that is still unfolding, with all its joy and struggle, hope and hurt. Somewhere along the way, we each receive our share of wounds. And yet, what if those wounds were never meant to define us, but to teach us something essential about being human? So many of us at some point look at our scars and wonder, does this mean something is wrong with me? The truth is, wounds are not signs of failure. They're not a curse or a punishment. They are invitations, signals, drawing our attention to the places where love, understanding, and growth are waiting. Carl Jung, one of the great thinkers of modern psychology, wrote, "I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become." Think about that. You are not your pain. You are not your past. You are not the sum of every time you were overlooked or misunderstood. You are the choices you make to learn, to love, and to grow from what happened to you. Our wounds teach us compassion. When you've felt heartache, it becomes much easier to hold space for others who are hurting. When you know the sting of disappointment, you're less likely to judge someone else's struggle. As Alice Miller, another pioneer in the field of healing, reminds us, what is not expressed doesn't disappear. It lives on in the body. If we ignore our pain, it doesn't just go away. It lingers, whispering for our attention through tension, anxiety, or even physical illness. But here's the beautiful paradox. When we finally listen to what our wounds have to say, they become our guides. Instead of limiting us, they point to the parts of ourselves that need kindness and acceptance. Imagine your life as a map. Each wound is a landmark, a point of reference. It shows you where you've been hurt. Yes. But also where healing and wisdom are possible. I once spoke with a woman who grew up feeling like her needs were always too much. For years, she hid her feelings, trying to be low maintenance in every relationship, never asking for help. But eventually she realized that her wound wasn't a life sentence. It was a guide. It showed her the importance of speaking up, of expressing what she truly needed, of honoring her own boundaries. What began as pain became the very thing that led her home to herself. If you start to see your wounds as guides, you'll notice that every challenge becomes a lesson in self-love. Instead of feeling victimized by your pain, you begin to ask, what is this experience teaching me? What strength is trying to emerge? Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor and psychiatrist, said, "When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves." Your wounds can become the starting point for this transformation. Here's a gentle invitation for today. Take a few moments to reflect on a challenge or wound in your life. Ask yourself, if this pain is a guide, where is it trying to lead me? Maybe it's inviting you to forgive. Maybe it's reminding you to rest. Maybe it's simply calling you to be gentler with yourself. Remember, healing isn't about erasing the marks life has left on you. It's about turning toward them with open eyes and an open heart. Every scar is a sign not just of what you've survived, but of how deeply you are willing to feel and to grow. So the next time you feel your old wounds rising up, don't turn away. Lean in. Listen. Write down what you discover or share your insight in the comments below. You might find that your greatest teachers are not the moments you wish you could erase, but the ones that taught you to love yourself, just as you are. Your wounds are not your destiny. They are the road back home. And every step you take toward understanding them is a step toward a deeper, richer, more compassionate life. Let your wounds be your guides. Let them show you the way to love. Practice connection and healing. Returning to your inner child. Let's take a pause, right here and now. You've heard the stories, the research, and the wisdom of great thinkers. But healing doesn't just live in ideas. It's something you do, something you practice, even in the smallest, most private moments. Today, I want to invite you to try a simple, yet deeply powerful exercise, one that can help you reconnect with the part of yourself that still carries old pain. This is the child you once were, and in many ways, still are. Think back for a moment. Is there a memory from your childhood that still aches a little? Maybe it's a moment when you felt left out, misunderstood, or unworthy. We all have at least one, sometimes big, sometimes so small it almost slips by unnoticed. But our bodies and hearts remember. As Dr. Bessel van der Kolk says, the body keeps the score. These memories linger not just in our minds, but in our posture, our reactions, our very breath. I'd like you to try this. Find a comfortable seat. If it feels safe, close your eyes. Take a few slow, deep breaths. Let your mind drift gently back to that childhood memory, the one that feels unresolved. Don't force yourself to relive it in painful detail. Just notice it, almost like watching an old photograph come into view. Now, picture yourself walking into that memory as the person you are today. See your younger self, the child who felt hurt, lonely, or scared. Imagine kneeling down beside them, and with all the compassion you can gather, whisper to them, "You are not alone. You deserve love." Feel those words not just as an idea, but as a gift you're giving to your own heart. Research shows that self-compassion, especially when directed to our past selves, can help us heal wounds we thought would never fade. Dr. Kristen Neff, a pioneer in self-compassion research, writes, "With self-compassion, we give ourselves the same kindness and care we'd give to a good friend. Isn't it time we offer that friendship to ourselves?" For some, this practice brings tears. For others, relief, or a quiet sense of peace. You may find that over time, the memory loses its sharp edges. You begin to feel, perhaps for the first time, that the pain was never proof of your unworthiness, but simply a longing to be seen and cared for. Here's another invitation. If you feel called, Write a letter to your inner child. Say what you wish someone had said to you back then. It doesn't have to be long or poetic. Just honest. What did you most need to hear? Maybe it's, I'm proud of you. Maybe it's, you did nothing wrong. Maybe it's just, I love you. If drawing or journaling feels more natural, sketch out your emotional map, highlighting the places and times that hurt, but also where you found hope or comfort, even if just for a moment. Carl Jung said, "Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes." When you turn inward with kindness, you awaken parts of yourself that have been waiting for love. And I invite you to share, if you're comfortable, in the comments below. What memory would you like to heal? What would you say to your younger self? Or simply write, I choose kindness. Your words may help someone else begin their healing journey too. Remember, true healing isn't about erasing the past. It's about bringing gentle attention to the places within us that still feel alone, and showing up for ourselves again and again. So, tonight, take a few moments to connect with your inner child. Offer them love, and know that every act of self-compassion ripples outward, touching not just your life, but the world around you. You're not alone. You are, and have always been, worthy of love. Let's walk this journey together. One kind word, one healing breath, one memory at a time. Community connection, childhood wounds, and the strength to grow up. As we come to the close of this journey together, I want to pause and remind you of something essential, something that every single one of us shares, even when we feel most alone. No one grows up without wounds. No one makes it through childhood completely unscathed. If you've carried pain, disappointment, or loneliness from those early years, you are not an exception. You are human. But here's the secret that many people discover only after years of struggle. Your wounds are not simply marks of weakness or shame. They are invitations to strength, resilience, and deeper understanding. In the words of Maya Angelou, we may encounter many defeats, but we must not be defeated. Your wounds can become the very soil where your greatest wisdom, empathy, and purpose take root. Think about the people you admire most. So many of the world's most inspiring leaders, artists, and healers are those who have turned their pain into something meaningful. Oprah Winfrey, who faced unimaginable adversity as a child, once said, "Turn your wounds into wisdom." And Viktor Frankl, who survived the horrors of the Holocaust, wrote, "When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves." These stories remind us, the path to maturity isn't about avoiding suffering, but about learning how to meet it with courage and grace. Now, maybe you've noticed it in your own life. Maybe a childhood wound made you more compassionate toward others. Maybe a time of feeling left out taught you the importance of kindness. Maybe the struggles you faced helped you support a friend, a partner, or even your own children in ways you never thought possible. The truth is, healing isn't a solitary path. We heal in community, by sharing our stories, our struggles, and our small victories. Every time someone comments, "I feel that too," or "I'm not alone," a little bit of the burden is lifted. For you, and for them. In fact, research shows that sharing our emotions, even in small ways, builds resilience and connection. Psychologist Brené Brown writes, "Connection is why we're here. It is what gives purpose and meaning to our lives." So, I want to invite you to join this circle of healing and growth. If this video has touched you, please take a moment to share a childhood memory in the comments. Maybe something that once hurt, or maybe just a word for how you feel right now. You never know who might need to read your words. You never know who you might inspire to begin their own healing journey. And if you don't feel ready to share, That's perfectly okay too. Just know that by being here, by listening and reflecting, you are already part of something bigger. A community that believes in the possibility of transformation, no matter how deep the wounds may be. If you found meaning in this video, I encourage you to subscribe, like, and share it with a friend who might need this message. The more we support each other, the more light we bring into the world. Remember, you are not alone on this path. Every person who has ever healed, ever grown, ever found hope again, started right where you are now. As we finish, let me leave you with this. No one becomes an adult without scars. But if you're willing to look back, to face your story, and to embrace your childhood map with compassion, you will find not only the power to heal, but the power to help others heal too. So let's walk this path together. Let's turn our wounds into wisdom. Let's help each other grow stronger, one story, one comment, one act of kindness at a time. I'm grateful you're here, and I hope you'll stay, because this community is for you, and you are already helping it shine. Share your truth, your journey, or just one word in the comments. You are not alone. We are healing together.